Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Tabletop News Roundup, where I take a look back at the week in tabletop role-playing game news and bring you the highlights. It looks like there's been a few more details set out for the digital DLC for the upcoming Forgotten Realms books. It looks like one will include a Dampire playable race, while the other, or playable species, sorry about that, while another will be an adventure book involving Netheril. And then for D&D Beyond, it looks like September 16th, the map feature will become free to use, which may be useful for people who still use that service. Daggerheart will be getting a Kickstarter coming up later this year, which will focus on class packs, which will detail everything needed to play particular classes. Monte Cook Games' Cypher system will be getting a new edition next year. The original version has been out for over a decade. Some of the upcoming changes include genre-specific character creation, changes to damage and armor systems, and more subtle ciphers. It looks like Sword World will be getting an official English translation. This is the Japanese RPG that took off after D&D flubbed the ball over there. There will be a Kickstarter coming up next year to translate Sword World 2.5 Deluxe. Unofficial fan translations have been available for a while, and I gotta be honest, I have been reading through them, and I kind of like the system. I kind of do. Anyway, Renegade is looking to develop an RPG based off of the Dungeon Crawler Carl book series, as well as some other licensed material off that series. They are the kings of the licensed material so far. More information will come out later, including what system it'll use, things like that. Moving on to minor and PDF releases, Breath of Life: The Chosen is an adaptation of a 3.5 edition Divine Spontaneous class to Pathfinder 2nd Edition rules, along with associated feats and other material. Delta World Campaign Setting Core Rulebook for Starfinder details a post-apocalyptic future Earth setting for that system. Mountain of the Swine King is a 5th edition adventure dealing with a new evil which is threatening trade routes and a bounty that's been set out to find the root cause and eliminate it. Mayor Mayhem is a 5th edition compatible adventure where a small town is about to open a new cheese factory when the town's mayor vanishes without a trace. A Deadly Quest is a 5th edition mini-campaign of 3 chapters dealing with a world where a tentative peace is being threatened. Full Moon is a 5th edition adventure dealing with a festival of falling stars, except this time the falling star is a massive entity with a leering face that will reach the world in 3 days unless a ritual is stopped. Dead Elves and Prism Spells is a 5th edition compatible adventure kit, which includes a blueprint for an adventure, various stat blocks, hooks, magic items, spells, maps, etc. Daring and Dread campaign setting, Elven Nations of Androsa, is a supplement for the Daring and Dread 5th edition setting that details some ancient realms of the elves. An Intro to the Fragment Realms is a 5th edition compatible offering that offers various planar realms, including new worlds, character options, mechanics, and so on. Free League has a new starter set for the Lord of the Rings 5th edition compatible RPG out. There's also the One Ring version called Overhill and Underhill, which they produce these in parallel. Epic Heroes Encyclopedia Rogue is a 5th edition compatible supplement that details rules for playing Rogue from 20th to 30th level. Part of a series that covers each class in turn. Magic Crystals is now available in 5th edition format and adds various limited use magic items based on crystals. Towns and Cities offers a number of easy-to-use fantasy settlements for use of the 5th edition, but also could be useful for other fancy RPGs. Dark Dwelling on the Prairie is a DCC RPG compatible Weird West offering, where the party is in pursuit of a ruthless gang who have skills in the dark arts. Torches in the Dark No. 2 is an OSR-style zine for Shadowdark, offering various tables, a creature, a continuation of an adventure, and more. The Tabletop Engineer has a number of things out this week, and among them is Runes 7, a fantasy zine for Shadowdark, Delver 18, which is an OSR-style zine that contains many tables, and Dungeon Depths No. 6, Halls of the Plague Knight, a standalone generic fantasy adventure. Iron Throne Volume 2. The Iron Throne of Thrones Volume 2 is another entry into the Thrones OSR series of settings, each focusing around a single land. The Dungeon Delver's Vault Volume 1 collects hundreds of magic items, several hundred magic items, for OSR fantasy RPGs, with a focus on items that have both risks with the rewards of their use. Return of the Witch King 5, Oblivion Dreams, is an adventure for Shadow the Demon Lord, part of the Return of the Witch King campaign, of course. Raven Guard is an offering for Against the Dark Master that features an adventure location around an ancient tower. Fear and Loathing in Old Pavie is an Old Pavis. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's part of the Pavis Grand Plan campaign for RuneQuest. Warhammer the Old World Game Master's Guide is a collection of advice, tools, and mechanics for game masters running Warhammer the Old World and meant to complement the player's guide. Columbia Games has a few offerings for Harnmaster. There's Gaiman Keep, Boaft Gargun, an Orc Colony, and then Agric, Order of the Pillar of Fire. Verona, City of Love for Changeling the Dreaming is what it says on the tin, a setting featuring the city of Verona, Italy for Changeling the Dreaming 20th anniversary. Broken Earth, Tales from the Great Lakes is a Savage Worlds Adventure Edition compatible set of locations for the Broken Earth setting. Rocket Age, Blood Red Mars Savaged is also for Savage Worlds and is a sci-fi game set in a pulp sci-fi era dealing with events on Mars. Once more, the Yellow Hand has a set of offerings for their sentient system of awakened robots, their awakened AIs. There's Executive Directive, Echoes of Humanity, and Companions. Finally, there's Trailblazer, which looks to be a galactic sci-fi RPG. There's the Core Rulebook, a galactic guide for game masters, and Enemy Index, then the Core Collection that includes them all. With that, let's take a look at crowdfunding campaigns. Remember that contributing to a crowdfunding campaign should be done only at your own risk. Doing so is no guarantee of being receiving a product. Mentioned here is not an endorsement, but it is for informational purposes only. And we'll start with the Draken's Heart from Laidback DM. It is to be a one-shot adventure compatible with the 5th edition OSR and the Dragonbane systems. Then there's the Morning Queen, which details a city shrouded in miasma full of undead monsters and such for 5th edition. Scrap Hearts is a mini-campaign for 5th edition that details various boss fights, minions, etc. with a mechanized theme. Gloriana, the Second Bell, is a 5th edition compatible book that contains all the lore and history as well as GM material for running the Gloriana city. The Book of Classes includes 24 new classes for 5th edition, inspired by the originals, complete with subclasses, etc. The Black Maw Grimoire is a 5th edition compatible spellbook with over 80 spells with themes of dark magic, sacrificial spells, and rituals. Bugbears in Borderlands 2nd edition will be a revision of the system based on the Rules Light version of 5th edition, updated with more player options, streamlined rules, etc. Shadow City Blood and Neon is to be a gothic punk RPG inspired by Shadow Dark, featuring vampires in the 80s in the city. Angels, Daemons, and Beings Between, Volume 3, will be another collection of patrons for the dungeon called Classics RPG, and it follows up on some ones that have been around for some years now. Anyway, Legends of Seer Null, Sands of Chaos, will be a Dragonbane module that wraps up the Legends of Seer Null trilogy with an adventure and a mini-adventure. The Chronicles of Sorrow looks to be an epic campaign for the Dragonbane RPG, where the characters can bring either doom or salvation to the locals. Grim Dark West will be a Weird West style RPG based on the Dreamscape RPG in a supernatural version of the Wild West. Candlelight Inquisition will be an investigation and focused gothic noir RPG with its own included setting. And finally, there is What Lurks Between the Trees, which will be an occult horror RPG set in the national parks of America, where you play park rangers with like an occult task force. Anyway, with that, I will wrap things up here. This has been the RPG Crawler with my Tabletop RPG News Roundup for August 3rd, 2025. As always, links will be below. And if I don't have the thumbnails up here, I'm going to try and get them. If I don't have them, just understand that I started to collect them when I was collecting the script together, and I got called up to do something when I came back. It totally slipped my mind, and I just wrote the script and closed the tabs without actually saving quite a number of them. So if I've got time, I'll put them up there, and if not, sorry. Anyway, if you like what you see, remember to leave a like, comment on your feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. Until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you are still watching, I would like to take the opportunity to thank my supporters, the top tiers of which are listed on the screen, without whose support I would not have been able to offer the variety of content that I have on this channel throughout the years. If you're feeling particularly generous and would like to join them, you can support the channel. There are a variety of options to do so. I have a Patreon, a Subscribe Star, as well as channel memberships enabled. If you are not in a position to contribute, simply leaving a like, a comment, or sharing my videos are all wonderful ways to help the channel grow without spending a dime, and are all greatly appreciated.